That's good.
The dog. Anybody hasn't had an opportunity to sign up for public testimony, please
Actually, once it got dark.
feel free to.
Do 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 do. Hello. Do, 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 do.
Luckily, I don't deal with it very often.
When in the course of human events.
So that's Zane, okay.
Yes.
Come back.
Sorry, Santa Claus. I thought it was gonna be 15, 20 minutes and
I think my testimony has nothing to do with Chief Dutra. So
Thank you for your patience, everyone.
Just go through the quick formalities here.
We're back in session.
Uh,
I would like the motion to move out of executive session back into regular session Monday, August 19, 2024 at 8:06.
I'll second it.
And no action was taken in the executive session.
No action was taken in the executive session.
move to approve a resolution of mediation by Zane Wilson to negotiate on behalf of the city of North Pole to resolve outstanding claims consistent with directions provided in the executive session.
Second that.
Okay, on the motion to approve a resolution of mediation by Zane Wilson to negotiate on behalf of the city of North Pole to resolve outstanding claims consistent with directions provided in the executive session. Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
and Mayor Clack.
Yes.
Thank you. Zane, you're welcome to remain on the line, or we thank you for your time this evening.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you. There. Next on the agenda is communication of the mayor. May I have Chief Dutra please stand up here, please?
do I need to,
Odd.
oh, you're giving him an award.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chief for 25 years. City of North Pole. With that, oh, thank you. With that, we've presented you with as some people would go, like that. Our Santa Claus quarter or $50 or whatever coin you would like to call it. Okay, for your service, and a pen. And then your certificate, dear sir, for your 25 years of service. Certificate of appreciation. This certificate is given in gratitude, recognition to Stephen Dutra for the dedication of 25 years of service of the city of North Pole, signed by the Mayor Chandra Clack and our city clerk, Emily. I'm not going to even try to make sure your last name. Thank you, dear sir. Okay.
Were there any council member questions of the mayor?
Yes, I have a quick one.
Yes.
It was brought to my attention in our skateboard park that the large ramp has been removed. And prior to its removal, there was a large hole in there. So there was a question from a resident that, is that ramp being repaired and will it be returned to the skateboard park?
And I wasn't aware that that ramp was missing. And I drive by there all the time, but I did notice there was no any children in there.
That's why.
So, yeah, so I will check into that. Now, if my grandson was here, he would let me know right away because he's down there every day when he's here. So I will check in that with Cody and
Thank
see
you.
what's going on with that. With that being said, the other thing I'd like to be able to add is football. Somebody was asking, when is the mayor's football? So that's going to be in September. The mayor's football game between Lathrop and North Pole High. So it'll be September 7th, and it will be at Lathrop this year. Okay. Also being safe about boating, because now we're getting ready to go into the winter. So I do want to make our public aware of our time of weather changes. So please be safe as you're out on your boat, getting into the water, and make sure you dress appropriately, and please wear your life jackets. Also, we had kids from Eielson start our North Pole High School and our North Pole Middle School. I wasn't able to be there for the first part where everybody was coming in, but I know somebody who was there, and I'm going to let him speak to that when he comes up. But I did check in with the high school, and they said that everything went really well that day, that Friday. So everything so far seems to be going really great. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Next.
That brings us to citizens' comments. There's a roster here on the table. Citizens are welcome to come, and you have 5 minutes each to speak. And Barbara Haney's already here. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Hi, greetings. My name is Barbara Haney. I'm here in my capacity as a private citizen, speaking on my own behalf and not on the behalf of the assembly, in case there's any confusion that I am also the Borough Assembly. So at any rate, I wanted to bring to your attention Resolution 2024-27 that is before the Borough this Thursday. This is the third time this resolution has come up. Citizen testimony and citizens' comments A has pushed back greatly the amount of time that has been available for consideration of this matter. There is a substitute of this bill that I would like to encourage you to look at. I also called the city of North Pole and encouraged them to look at it during their morning work session tomorrow. And I'm going to be real straightforward. I'm not a fan of mail-in voting. I'm not a fan of just mail-in ballots out to everybody. I think there's a chain of custody issue. But what I want to talk to you about is beyond that. In the substitute, the Borough Assembly is assigning the respective city clerks. Now, I have enormous respect for Emily and Danny and April and her staff. And I think it's marvelous if they all want to work together on a project. However, I think it is irregular for the Borough Assembly to assign the city clerks obligations and duties. In my humble opinion as a private citizen, I think that is something that the city councils should be considering. And I would hope that whoever is the city representative would be willing to step up to the plate, or perhaps in your own statement, to consider whether the Borough Assembly has the right and authority to determine what your city clerks do. Now, like I said, I have no problem with them working together, and certainly they will. Well, whatever it is they end up doing. However, I do think it's irregular for a borough assembly to tell your clerk. In my opinion, what should happen is they should invite the respective city councils to consider giving that assignment to their clerks. That's how I think it should go, because I think it's very heavy-handed for us as the borough assembly to tell you or your clerk what to do. So that's just my opinion. I just thought I'd put that out there for you for consideration and to think about, because I think there's a certain order and process that's very important. I know the city of North Pole is a first-class city. The city of Fairbanks is a first-class city. And I think as a second-class borough, we need not to get over our skis, if you will. And I live out in the borough, so the borough government is my government. When I say my government, it's the government that I live in, whether I'm an assembly member or not. As a private citizen, it's my level of government. So I would encourage you to really look that through, give some consideration to how to approach the matter. And I will shut up now and leave it at that while I'm ahead. That's all I wanted to talk to you about. And I would, by the way, just as an FYI, when I come in to vote in my precinct, the Plaque precinct comes in to vote at your mall. The newbie precinct comes in to vote at your mall. There is a precinct, Badger 1, that does not come into your area and vote, but Chain of Lakes does come into your city and vote. And it is very common for all of us to stop and get dinner somewhere and spend some money after we vote. And so I think from a financial perspective of your revenue, it might be helpful to think about whether you would experience a revenue loss if we had mail-in voting versus voting at the polls. Because there is a sales tax in North Pole, which I gladly pay every time I come in for either my eyelashes or for lunch or groceries or whatever. So there's other revenue reasons for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank
What was
you.
that number again?
2024-27. The ordinance sponsor is Savannah Fletcher. And we've had 2 assembly meetings now that were racked and stacked full of, I think we had 3 people total, maybe 4, for the committee to move us to mail-in voting. See, that's the other thing that's bothersome. If the clerks are going to get together and think about voter participation, we should not be predetermining what they come up with. And this does. It says what to move to mail-in voting. Well, if they're going to get together and do some stuff, I think we shouldn't be telling them what the outcome should be. So they need to have they're all 3 very experienced gals who know a lot of information, have a lot of good community contacts. I don't think mail-in voting is perhaps the best alternative to increase voter participation. So anyway, but that's what the resolution calls for. And
Barbara, sorry, if you reach, did any council members like to give her an extension or have any questions?
Seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara. Whoever signed up next, you're welcome to come on up.
Hi, my name is Anna Allred, and I'm here with a situation that happened July 15th. I was coming back from my girlfriend's house, and I was driving a little bit over the speed limit, and I was pulled over. And I did have insurance, but it was suspended because I hadn't been driving my car for a period of time. And the cop, and I told the cop that it was suspended and everything. And as he was walking back to his car, I called my insurance agent to let him know what was going on. And he said, okay, we'll reinstate it right now. So my insurance was taken care of. I tried to explain it to the officer when he came back to give me the ticket, and he said that was too bad. I'm on disability, so by the time I got my money, it was already over $1,200 to get my car. Now, I don't have an issue. I mean, I was in the wrong, yes. My insurance was suspended. I tried to work something out. The officer told me, no, he's not going to correct it. And he doesn't want no one else to correct it. That's why he wrote not correctable on my ticket. And I don't understand any of this because I had it corrected. I corrected the situation immediately. And I don't know what to do because now it's like $2,000 to get my car. And I've tried everything. I've tried working it. I've tried to talk to him. I've tried talking to everybody. And to no resolution. Because he does not want to hear anything I have to say.
Yes, Jeff?
Ms. Allred, so you said that you had suspended your insurance because you weren't driving your car for a while. So this was an action that you contacted your insurance company and said, I'm not driving my car, please suspend my insurance.
Yes,
And then you drove your car and that's when the incident happened, but you contacted your insurance agent and he reactivated your insurance and so it was active. as
within
of-
minutes.
Yeah. So this wasn't a suspended insurance because of any sort of violation. This was
No.
just a request to save money because you weren't driving your
Yeah.
car.
We'll suspend your insurance so that instead of canceling it and then having to redo it again. And I was without my car for like 4 weeks because I had to have repairs done. And that day I was going to going in town to go over and talk to my insurance agent and get everything put back together. But it ended up I was able to do it over the phone. And the ticket was written at 121 and my insurance was reinstated at 132.
So what were the times again?
He pulled me over at 121 and my insurance was reinstated at 132. I have it on my phone.
Okay.
Yes, Larry?
So when the officer pulled you over, you didn't have insurance as far as liability, but did you have your vehicle in storage? So you had comprehensive insurance at that time?
No, I had liability, but when they suspend insurance, it's a smaller payment that you make.
Right.
And then once you're able to start driving your car, then you notify them and then it goes back to your normal payments. I still made payment on it.
But I don't mean to interrupt you, but did you have, so
No coverage. There was no coverage.
no coverage at all?
It was
Other
a-
than that, it was just liability that you
Yeah.
have on your
If I was in
vehicle?
an accident at that moment, it wouldn't have been covered.
Thank you.
My question is how far from your home, because I'm assuming that's where the car was at, to when the police officer pulled you over?
I was probably maybe 2 miles from my apartment, and I asked him if I could drive it there and park it, and then I'd find some way in town to go talk to my insurance agent. And he said no, and I told him, I said, well, I have it, I can prove to you I've got insurance now. I had it reinstated. He said, too bad.
One question for you, Ms. Allred. Within the last 1 or 2 years, have you had other uh, police interactions at all? So within the last 1 to 2 years, have you had any interactions with an officer?
I think what he's asking is, have you been pulled over or ticket or?
No,
Okay,
not in the last year or two, no.
Okay.
okay.
Miss Barber, what's your last name?
It's all red. ALLRED.
So just as a point of clarification, as a council, we cannot override the police department issuing of tickets, but we certainly can have a discussion with the police chief about options and if there's any possible different outcome, but that's all that we
I
can do.
don't have a problem paying the fine. It's the rest of it that because and I even tried to do that with the chief. I even asked him, I said, I have this amount of money I saved because I haven't paid my rent or my electric so that I could try to get my car out. And he didn't want to do anything with it neither.
Okay, so are you saying then that you spoke with Chief Dutra since he's been back?
No, Jed Smith.
Okay, okay. Is that the same email that I had him
Yeah.
send out to you, which he quoted the Alaska statute?
No, that was one I sent to him after that.
Okay, so you end up speaking to him after you sent that email? Is that what I'm understanding?
I had sent him an email asking him if there's any way we could work it out. I had the $520.
Okay, you're speaking on the impoundment. When you're talking about the 525?
Yeah.
Okay,
The car still is in impoundment
Yep.
yep.
and it's racking up storage fees?
Yeah, it's over. It's $30 a day starting the 16th plus the tow fee plus the $520.
August 16th?
July 16th.
July 16th to August 16th, plus today's the 19th.
Miss Aldridge, did the officer write you a ticket for your original infraction of speeding?
No, he said he wasn't going to give me a ticket for
For the
speeding. It was just for the proof of insurance to be carried.
Okay, with it, Larry?
And your vehicle was currently insured or not insured,
Right.
registered, just not current insurance, correct?
I hadn't reinstated it because I had just got my car back running. I wouldn't have even been where I was at, but I thought my girlfriend was having a seizure while I was talking to her on the phone. So I freaked out and I went over there and I was on my way back home. And
And where again did this happen?
not too far from, I was coming back from it's over there by Hawks Greenhouse. And I was
Okay.
on my way to Town Apartments where I live.
Thank you.
I thought I understood you to say you were on your way back from her place.
Yes, I went over to check, I went over there to check her and I sat with her for a little bit, made sure that yes,
And-
she was okay. And then I was heading, because I had to get into town. I was gonna, because it's still in my jammies, so.
Okay, so where is her location?
Um, I don't know the name of the road. It's there by the airfield. It's down back in there.
Off Bradley? That airfield?
Off the Old Rich.
Old Rich?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So from the time that you left your house, if I'm understanding you correctly, you went to her house,
Yes.
and at that time, you had no insurance on your vehicle.
Not yet. No. I had-
Okay, what I'm trying to outline here is
Yeah.
this: you got in your car from your house, you went to her place of residence. You were at Hawks Greenhouse approximately.
No, what did Hawks Greenhouse? It's over by Hawks Greenhouse.
It's over by Hawks Greenhouse, approximately where you were at when the officer pulled you over. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you left from your point being A, your home, to her place being point B, and you were on your way back home to her place,
No, it's in my place.
back to your place. Okay. So can I ask this question of you? At this point of thought, thinking about her safety, did you also consider your safety? Because you were driving without insurance.
Yes.
Okay. I think what the officer was trying to let you know is that you were driving without insurance, which puts yourself in jeopardy. I know that you're understanding that fact that you were wrong, but we can figure out what we can do, if at all possible, for your vehicle, but I cannot promise anything. if you understand what I'm saying. Um, the laws are there to help protect everybody. And I think I would be fearful in your haste to go help a friend that you possibly hurt yourself in that instance. Do you understand what I'm making reference to?
I understand what you were saying, yes.
Okay. Um,
Does anybody else, any other council members have any questions? No.
Seeing none.
Ms.
Okay,
Allred, thank you for the next person on the public testimony registers. Welcome to come up and take their 5 minutes. Thank you, Rita.
Yes, I am Rita Trumpeter from North Pole. And good evening, North Pole City Council members.
good evening.
It has been less than a year since I sat in this seat discussing North Pole and maintenance vehicles. I had no idea that I'd be returning so quickly after our last discussion in February when the chief of police said something on the order of the issue that we could always work out things with people that we had concerns. Our intent is not to make life harder for residents. I believe possibly each person in this room this evening has had a bad day they remember and possibly had a run-in with a vehicle issue or an officer in their life. With that being said, I want each of you to put yourself in the position of Anna, who had a minor over the speed limit violation, to realize her vehicle insurance had expired. Nothing that couldn't be fixed in a few moments with a phone call, which she did, and could be verified by another phone call of proof of insurance. With insurance in place, there is no health or safety issue. Knowing that she would have a ticket for her speeding violation, there was no reason for the officer to go one step further and impound her vehicle. Of course, she did not get cited for the speeding. If her vehicle was impounded and she'd have no transportation and an absorbent amount of cumulative fees for her to retrieve her vehicle from the impound lot, good possibility never to be able to retrieve or get that vehicle back due to the added fees. Is this the intent of North Pole Police? I understand that in the books, there is information that states if somebody owes a citation fee, it can be done on a payment agreement with the city. Not sure why this was not offered as a solution to her problem. Back in February, Chief Dutra lectured us in these chambers right here, where we always are willing to work with people on minor offenses, which I don't see happening in this situation so far. It is very hard to sell North Pole, Alaska as a town with Christmas spirit year-round when our local government continues to prove there is no generosity or kindness in this city within the limits. As a local citizen, I can only think that the city has an underlying venue for wanting more funds for in their coffers. Is someone or the local business getting kickbacks on these impounds? A small citation that turns into thousands of dollars could only have an underlying reason for the city treasury. I hope that new leadership on the ballot within a few weeks is a positive result to our quaint community of North Pole, so upcoming tourist season will give a positive review. In the meantime, I hope the city of North Pole and Anna can come up with an agreement to reduce the fees and or pay to assist Anna in the situation that should have not occurred. No one should have to return here to discuss added fees for minor infractions. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Is there any council member questions? Thank
Seeing
you.
none.
Thank you, Rita.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Wilson. I'm from North Pole. Just kind of want to just run through, when Anna called me trying to figure out your ordinances, policies and what it had to do with. First of all, we're not here to discuss the ticket. I mean, that's something she's got a court date for. It should be taken care of in court. Where my concern is, just to give you an idea, in your code, it actually specifically states all the costs that she's incurred by this one misstep. Fine, $500, surcharge, $20, towing, $130, storage, $30 a day, which right now is a minimum of $1,000, certified letter to let her know her car's been impounded, which I'm pretty sure she already knew, $75, security fee, $65, and that is if she wanted to get anything out of her car. So why are we here tonight? The whole point, what it states in your own policy is that insurance is there for keeping the public safe. We all agree on that, absolutely. Before she left that call, she had insurance. She was able to prove she had insurance, so the safety portion was taken care of. So then you have to ask yourself, then what was the purpose of towing it? I mean, that's really why we're here tonight. And it is because what Rita just said, we got a big lecture when we were here last time that, no matter what the code said, shall or not shall, that common sense would be utilized, and we're a small town and we would work this out. And I think what this does is prove that we don't. But here's what I don't understand. I've gone through the appeal portion and what that would take. You could try to appeal, but if you lose, you pay everybody's attorney fees. So nothing like bad money chasing bad money. So that doesn't make sense. But it does talk about a person seeking to redeem a vehicle must obtain an order authorizing release of the vehicle unless the release is made under agreement with the city. So who's the city? I don't know. I mean, everything else is so spelled out here, but not the city. So my understanding is from what Anna went through is the city was the police department. And this is nothing against the police department whatsoever. They wrote an infraction for something to happen. But would it be the city then to determine whether or not the ticket should have been done? Should the impoundment been done? Should $30 a day? I mean, you're talking a car that costs between $500 and $1,000 at $1,840. And to answer the question, as far as has she had an infraction, the last infraction she had was in 2020. You go to court view and you can look at it and you can make sure that that's what it is. So we're back to the way this whole thing could have been taken care of is by making an agreement with the city. And I sent her up here to do that. But then I found out that nobody here seemed to know what that meant. So I came to ask. And they basically told me I need to go back to the police department, but they were all out for 2 days on training, which I find that interesting if you had all your police department out all in the same 2 days. But I walked back there anyway, and there was nobody there. So who could have handled this on the 15th of July or the 16th, 17th, 18th? Why, once the safety issue was taken care of, did we have to tow the vehicle? Charge the $520. That's a lot of money if you only make $1,300 a month. But still, the point of the $520 is what? So you won't do it again, right? It's high enough so that you won't do it again. But then to add all these fees on top of it, and if she couldn't have gotten insurance for whatever reason, maybe there was something else there, and the police officer saying you can't drive that car because you still don't have insurance, absolutely correct, and he should have done that. But that wasn't the case. So, and we've asked a lot of people out there, what would you have done? What should have been done? And I don't, I can order the, the camera and see what the, the thing, the stop look like, but really, do we need to do that? And then my other question is, this is not the first time I've heard from other residents, the same thing is happening. So it's fine to punish somebody, but now I'll take a car that's worth $500 to $1,000 and say $1,840. We thought about doing a GoFundMe and get her a new car, or car that at least it was in her driveway. But you know what happens to that $1,840? It keeps building every day. And guess what? Then her PFD goes. For how many years? Because of the one mistake she made to help a friend that was in need. When nobody's really thinking, you just think about that person. So anything you can do, I just think this is way over the top for that one moment not to have done something different. And again, it was taken care of. So the ticket, that's for the judge to determine. But all the fees and how it was handled after that, to me, that's why you're on the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Does any council members have any questions?
Yes, were you aware that the city did look at purchasing a towing yard so that we wouldn't have to contract services with companies in Fairbanks who charge these kind of rates, but that was not a successful venture. So we do not collect anything from the towing fees. We pay the towing company for that. They're on a list of approved towing companies. And what they charge for storage fees is something that we negotiate as far as it not being $100 a day or you know, a $600 towing fee, like some of them we're doing in Fairbanks from Walmart parking lot. So we're not in this making money. It's an unfortunate situation. Would have, could have, should have, you know, always there's different options there, but
And we tried our best. Let me step in there. When the young lady sent me her email, I tried to let the police officer address that. With that being said, I took the extra mile and contacted the gentleman that is impounding his car, her car. At this point in time, the gentleman says no, because I was willing to ask if he would do a payment plan for her. And the gentleman said no. So as he stated, there's no contract or anything we have. The impoundment, as you read, is part of our code and ethic. In order for that to even be waived, we have to agree as a city. I even went to the extra batting on that to see if we can do that. If we do this and we're still not learning not to leave the house without insurance, it makes it difficult when you're teaching an 18-year-old to make sure they have insurance on their car who has a very bad car accident and kills somebody in that accident. That's something that child has to deal with and the parent in time. So with that being said, we went the extra mile to see what we can do to help. Okay. We were told no on several avenues to try to help in this problem. So I did want to make sure that you had that explanation put out there. As far as us collecting fees, no, we're not trying to collect anybody's money or anything like that to pocket ourselves or our city. We are trying to bat for our customers or our residents here in our town. So I don't want you to think that we're not. We all sat here and tried our very best to do what we can to help this young lady in this incident. What we may try to do now after this conversation is have another conversation. We don't want to feel as though we're not trying to help at all. We're trying to help some way to solve this particular problem or anybody's problem. But the main thing we want everybody to realize is in the code, it does state you have to have insurance on your vehicle or it will be impounded. Now, I had the honor to ride with one of the police officers before I became on council. And a gentleman decided to get in his car and drive it from one end of North Pole to the other without any insurance. And he ended up being speeding as well. He didn't get the citation. That's the good thing from the officers, that they are trying to help. I'm sorry I have to impound your car. I'm not going to give you a ticket for the speeding, but you didn't put insurance on it. Now, in her time frame of 121 to 130, and looking at the fact that she had already left the home prior to. So from that home A to point B where she went to go help the friend, which could have also been an ambulance phone call for that friend's help and assistance, because her situation could have been a lot worse than what it was. So, I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios we can play for this, but the best scenario, I want you to realize that this council tries their very best to go to bat for certain things. And we're not trying to collect money from what some people are making reference to.
So can I answer Councilman Jacobson's
You
question?
may.
So first of all, none of my testimony insinuated you were doing this for the money. So if there was anything I missed on that, that was not my testimony. My testimony is specific to 10.02.090, release of the motor vehicle, and trying to understand how an agreement with the city could have been made with Ms. Allred, and whether that would be in the council decision, whether that's a police decision. With all your code being very specific, that's the one part that is not addressed.
I think the
So,
mayor explained that it is the police department decision.
right, well, like I said, it's not explained here, and as we tried to figure that out, nobody else seemed to, and here did. So if you think I was saying you're doing it for the money, That was never what I was insinuating. It's really trying to understand the code and coming here and people here also not understanding the code, which caused the vehicle to be in there even longer.
I just heard you made the comment, there was a group of you that were wondering about why these fees are so expensive and what do we get out of it? That's what I heard. as
That's what
part
we
of your
heard.
message.
Yep.
So you may not have meant that, but that's what I heard and that's what I was responding to.
Right. And as far as the impound lot, I had heard rumors that you were trying to have an impound lot, but I don't, even with the impound lot, she still would have had other fees that would have gone alongside
Oh.
that for the city.
As in the case of the city of Fairbanks, we have a city impound lot and the city can waive the storage fees. The towing fee still has to be paid to the towing
That's
company.
yeah.
But that's the discretion that the city mayor and the chief of staff can make.
Thank you. Are there any other are there questions from the council for?
Larry had something.
Just one more. You mentioned GoFundMe page. Did you start that or have you started that for?
We were honestly hoping that we would be able to work something out as we've been going through the code step by step. But there's no way that she can pay that 1840 and every day we can't do it. It's going to keep going higher, higher. So I don't know what other alternative, because it would break my heart that she would lose her PFD for 2 or 3 years because of this incident.
May I do a
Thank you.
correction on that? In speaking with the gentleman, he holds it for a while. From my understanding, even though she may be collecting the fees, at the end of September will be when he's going to be putting it on the auction. So what she needs to do is be able to call and speak with the gentleman and see what his intent is if the fees are not paid in a timely manner. So we're going at the end of August. And so from my understanding, he's trying to give her a chance to come up with some funds to get it paid, even though it may be racking. But what he does with most of his vehicles is he starts getting them prepared for auction that are not paid in a timely manner.
So I did speak to Interior Towing on her
Okay.
behalf. And what they told me is, first of all, they can't do anything until the $520 is paid.
Mm.
And then once it gets to a point to where they're ready to put it on auction, there will be additional fees then because they have to go and actually get title to the vehicles to be able to do it. So there will be more costs than the $30. So by time it would go, he basically said this next auction he has is
Right.
pretty much already filled up. So it would go on the next one. So at that point, you'd be pretty much in the $4,000 range if we're not able to figure out some other way to help her out.
Okay.
And I
And
did go to try to find out so her car wouldn't be sold.
right.
And she also has a hearing on the 5th of September
Okay.
in Fairbanks.
Okay. So she did get a court date. Because when we last spoke, she didn't get a court date.
So we are trying to take all the steps that we feel that are available through the code and through state statute.
Okay. And with that, you also talked with Helping Alaska and Salvation Army. Either of the two, if you call like this late and leave an answering on their answering machine, when the staff comes in, they will try to make sure they get a hold of you.
And since this is question time, this is question for Ms. Wilson. The audio doesn't pick up anybody in the audience when they're speaking. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's where we are at this time. I do want to thank you very much, Tammy, for coming in. And thank you as well.
Are there any questions for Ms. Wilson from the council? Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Was there anybody else that signed up for public testimony? Thank you. State your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Adam Rolfe. So on about July 1st, I submitted a public records request for the speed radar data for the Lake Drive neighborhood. The first response I got from anyone was July 24th. To where I got a email from one of the police officers in North Pole who gave me 2 weeks of data from the week of May 1st and the week of May 8th. Upon reviewing that data is prior to the radar sign coming to Lake Drive. So it was still on St. Nicholas So the data is irrelevant for what I wanted for the Lake Drive neighborhood. After the 24th, July 24th, I came in 3 separate times, gave my contact information, and had heard nothing until today when Chief Dutra contacted me. The issue, the perceived issue, my perceived issue is that a lot of people are speeding in the neighborhood. I was hoping to corroborate or verify that with the data from the radar signs. But I haven't received any of the data yet. The location that they put the radar sign, to me, doesn't make sense because it's on a curve where people are naturally slowing down anyways, and it's for people that are leaving the neighborhood as opposed to coming through the neighborhood. One thing I would like to see, one, the data. Two, I would like neighborhood participation when we put signs like this to figure out from the neighborhood where the perceived issues would be throughout the neighborhood so that we place those in the appropriate areas so that we can see and get the data. My hope is with the data, we can see people are regularly speeding through the neighborhood so that we can get speed bumps, speed humps, whatever you want to call them, so that the neighborhood is safe for the kids. My kids we live right on a corner, so people readily speed through there, perceived. And there's only so much the kids can do to look around the corner, especially when you're on a corner. A lot of trees, cars can't see, kids can't see through them, things like that. So one, my curiosity is, why is it taking so long to get any kind of communication from the city or North Pole PD? And then why have I still not gotten any data? And then my first phone call was today. I have.
Yes, Jeff.
So was it Chief Dutra able to give you any information that was explain the weight in getting the data?
So I had 2 parts of the public records request. The first part was the data itself. The second part is a justification on why they put it on the turn. There was no study done, no real justification. In the beginning of the summer, we were told North Pole PD was going to be walking the neighborhoods, the local neighborhoods. I don't think we've seen them once. We've seen them drive through. Like this weekend, we saw a North Pole PD drive through. We waved. They just kept driving. No stopping, no interaction with the public that I've seen all summer. Some of this public interaction would have been nice to put the sign in a better location.
Are you part of your neighborhood watch over in the North Star neighborhood?
Honestly, I didn't know we had one. I don't know that we have one.
Okay. You communicate with your neighbors through Nextdoor, or is there a local Facebook group or any way that the city would have been able to reach out to that head group and have any suggestions about where to put that other than after we already put it up?
I don't know if we have, I don't think we have a Facebook page.
Okay.
I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on social media. So
And that's fine. Not everybody is, but it's a great way. I know that I follow a lot of different pages around town. And that's a great way to stay in contact. The Nextdoor app is another good one.
Okay.
To kind of stay in touch with your neighbor group chats and things like that. You present the information like you wanted a study to be done on the neighborhood, and I understand that more than anybody, with kids playing in the street, pickup ball games, riding bikes, going for walks and playing with their friends, especially now that school buses are out and kids are more apt to be out after school having fun. But without having somebody in charge of that neighborhood for us as a city to be able to reach out to and say, hey, as a neighborhood, where would you like this? I think it's a great suggestion that you bring forth. And I hope that the mayor can talk with the Public Works and talk about your issue and make that change. And maybe since you're here, you can be the contact neighborhood and start that neighborhood watch in your neighborhood to keep an eye on what's going on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What's your name again?
Adam Rolfe?
Adam.
Any other questions?
Your last name?
Rolfe, Rolfe, huh?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, is there ability to get speed bumps without the data? Or do you have to have the study first? I don't know the procedure for that.
There's an additional cost to snow removal when you add speed bumps or humps in there. So that's a maintenance concern for any time of traffic.
Has the city researched the removable kind so that you can have them during the summer as where kids are out?
I don't think
playing
we
and-
have done much on speed bumps and speed humps just because we're a small city with a small department. So,
Have them on Amazon.
but we're in flux with new staff. So we will be certainly talking about that when we look at our budget to see what kind of plans for things like that in the future for the 2025 budget.
Has the city of North Pole reached out to the Department of Transportation to figure out how they deal with speed bumps and those type of traffic and snow plowing and things like that?
We don't have a public works director at this time, so I don't think we have done that in the past.
Any other questions? Seeing none? We want to thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Yep.
Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Rolfs. Was there anybody else that signed up for public testimony this evening?
I didn't sign up, but I guess I'll speak now. My name is
Welcome
Sandra.
to you.
My name is Sandra Rolfe. I was here with the group that came back in February, and we complained about the same issue when we were here in February about people speeding through the neighborhoods, about options that there were to resolve those issues, about the ability to get speed bumps put into the neighborhood because of the issue of we live right, so North Star turns into Lake Drive or runs into Lake Drive, and there's a corner right there. So there's a little straightaway, and then it's a loop Lake Drive. And we literally live right on the corner. So nobody can see our house or anybody in front of the house with the corner there. And they come flying around that corner. The speed limit is only 20 miles an hour, and they got to be doing at least 30 most of the time. And I'm sad to say that the majority of those that we've seen, and we walk the neighborhood and ride our bikes around the neighborhood all the time, the majority of those who are guilty of it are the people who have kids out on the roads playing. It annoys me. We've talked to a few neighbors about it. We've knocked on the door of a certain neighbor who went speeding through, which didn't do any good because he still speeds through the neighborhood. And so, I mean, I guess really, who do we need to, squeaky wheel gets what they want? Like, who do we need to sit there and harass to be able to get something done? And I understand that snow removal is more difficult with them. And we learned in our travels that they now have removable speed humps or speed bumps, depending on the size that you put up. And they even have ones that you can put in now that have that are made so that the ambulance and stuff can ride right over them and not actually bump over them. But a normal car would still have to go over the speed bump and still be slowed down by it. And so there are a lot of newer options out there that don't create the issues that your typical asphalt speed bump would do.
What we'd like to do is let us see what investigating on those speed bump aspects and see what it's going to run, see if we can add it into the budget, see if it's possible. Here's a question I need to ask you. Do you guys have, the little sign that says kids playing 5 or 10 miles an hour? How many of those do you have out?
So there's a kids playing sign that the little guy with the flag
Right.
that sits, there's a little circle area right in front of the house as well. And there's one sitting there and it gets knocked over all the time. We set it back up, but It does no good.
Knocked over by wind or
I think it's
traffic?
just the wind that knocks
Okay.
it over, but it gets knocked, he doesn't stand up very well,
Well,
clearly, 'cause he
okay.
gets knocked over all the time. But the kids stand him back up, but it doesn't slow people down at all. There's a kids playing sign at the beginning of the neighborhood. When you first drive onto North Star, it's kids at play,
Okay.
drive slow or whatever. They don't.
What
they
what
don't
time
care.
frame is this happening? Have you noticed?
The majority of the issue is usually is people are getting off work.
Okay, around
Between
5.
4 and 6
6,
is really when we see
okay.
the most people speeding down the road. We don't see it a lot on the weekends because obviously people are not really in a hurry to get anywhere on the weekends. But typically it's when we're out there in the evening. So sometimes between 4 and 6 is when we see the most people. And
Okay.
like I said, sadly, the majority of the people I see that are speeding are the ones that are houses with kids.
Okay. So let us get together and talk on this. I believe this is your husband, so he might be the party that's going to be over the neighborhood aspect of it. But let us have some thoughts and processes for the next couple weeks and see what we can come up with. Our budget doesn't come into play until the end of October. So give us some time on that. Give me a call if you see that same time frame going on between 4 and 6. And what we might do is see if we have an officer that might be available to come out during that time frame and make his appearance.
Because it wasn't, when we first moved into the neighborhood, it really wasn't an issue. We used to walk around with the stroller when she was little, but there used to be a police officer who lived at the back of the loop. And my understanding is he has since moved, and apparently everybody knows he's moved because
Right.
now they go speeding through. And I think Mr. Church had asked my husband about if there's a Facebook group or a next door group or
Right.
anything. There's not one locally. I'm on both of those apps, and the closest neighbor that I've found on the next door app is over in the Chino Lakes area.
Okay. So give us a chance to look at things and keep me in the loop from the 4 to 6. And then we'll see what we can do to see if we have somebody can patrol the area for you. And we may also discuss moving that sign from where it's at locally. So I'll have to talk with the officer in regards to that as well. Okay.
Okay.
But we'll see what we can do to help in this process because kids' safety is number one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Is there anybody else that would like to testify publicly this evening?
Seeing none.
I got it. Okay, so that concludes citizens' comments, and that brings us to communications from department heads and borough representative. Miss,
Let's have Chief Dutra come up. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Well, as I put in my notes, I just want to say thank you to the council for being there, supporting me and during the time I was gone, taking care of my mom's estate and such. And I know I've been gone for the last, 3 months. I don't know, it seems like 3 months, the last 6 months. It's been a lot. I do want to thank the mayor and the council and especially my employees for all their support. Pulling together, being down personnel and taking over for each other while each other goes on vacation and filling in and doing all the things that they do for each other to make sure that there's always somebody on duty. I do thank everybody, and I am super grateful for that and humbled by everybody stepping forward. So, the FTO process for our new officers moving forward. So that's good news. We are down 2 because we have one in FTO that really doesn't count, and the other one that's in getting ready to go to the academy. So do remember that we are still down 2 officers from our normal staffing. Our school has started, as some people have mentioned tonight, and our public safety assistant at Lingworth is already busy out there, buzzing like a bee with the students and going to events and doing lots of school stuff. He's got a couple events, one at the Children's Museum, and so he's doing snack tours and snacks with the kids and tours and greets with the kids. It's just, it's great to have him out there in the schools, doing that kind of stuff. So our entire, and as mentioned earlier, there were 2 days, where our officers had to travel to Delta to do our training. We do our training down there at the Fort Greeley Emergency Vehicle Operations Pad. We split the department half. One day, one half goes down. the next day, the other half goes down, or there's a day separation in there. So that we can get everybody emergency vehicle operations trained in high-speed maneuvers and that sort of thing, because obviously it's very important for departments to have that training so we don't hurt anybody, hurt ourselves, make bad decisions in high-speed training. So it is like one of the most important things we do as far as training every year. And we do it every year, unlike a lot of departments that cannot or don't have the willpower to push through to have their department travel such distances or do whatever it takes to make sure that training gets done. It's a great expense. It's a lot of miles on the cars, a lot of hardship for the officers, long days, driving down to Delta, doing a full day of training, and then having to drive back. It's a significant investment from the department and the city. But I can tell you this much, it's more officers get killed from vehicle accidents, from pursuits than they do in the line of fire. So it's pretty important that we do this training. And again, hats off to the trainers who pull that off, because of course they got to go down and set it up ahead of everybody else and then break it down when it's all over. So important training. So want to make sure you all know that we would do more of this training in our area. But as you know, I've been searching for a place to do driver training in the interior for a long time. And with all the restrictions and shutdowns, and it's very difficult to schedule stuff like that locally and have a place that we're capable of doing such training. So the Greeley pad offers us the ability to train with Fort Greeley too. So we have the trainers. We get to train another agency and use their facility. It works out really nice. So kudos to everybody that makes that happen. So we are slotted to do our firearms training here early in September, and we were able to get into Eielson there to do our training out there. So that's pretty nice. They got a nice facility out there now, and they do have a lot of restrictions for us to jump through, but we've seemed to have ironed those out. And now we're back on there, and we're super grateful for them for allowing us to do our training out there. We are working on a final draft for the scope of work on the sewage damage to the police department. I know we've been talking about this for quite a long time, but that project was not in my hands. It's now in my hands. I now have almost completed the scope of work. I already spoke to a contractor. We're going to get that out tomorrow and start getting some actual true quotes from contractors on what this is going to be. And I will preface this. There are portions of this project that will be covered by insurance, a majority of it. And then there will be parts of the project that we will come to the council for additional funding in order to pay for it. And what that means is, we've got carpet being replaced in 80% of the place, but you got that one room over here that wasn't. So that's going to have to be replaced. And then of course we got to paint that because, it's just stuff like that. It just little pockets of problems that we're starting to see where, that really wasn't covered, but it's got to be the same. You can't have your entryway and your hallway a different color than your office right next to it. So especially because that stuff's like from the, early 2000s, I think we replaced that green stuff that's in there. So that has to come up and, we have to put the floor down. So it's a little more complicated than one might think. But anyway, stay tuned and I'll get back to you soon on that. So I'll answer your question.
Any questions?
We're going to make sure that no one turns off the circulating pump.
We have a sign on it. We have a light on it. We have everybody hopefully paying attention to that. But, my plan is to replace the boiler, which of course was the culprit in this is the boiler kicking on in that circulation from the hot water dumping into the sink in the utility room. And of course, the switch being shut off for the heat tape. Those two perfect storm came together and just massacred the department. So, but that problem's been existed since that building was built. So, yeah, it's an expensive fix, but hopefully we won't have this happen again.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Larry.
So in citizens' comments, Mr. Rolfe brought up the walkabout with a cop, how you're doing foot patrols around the city of North Pole. How are the analytics on that and where are we at with that? And how is that being perceived by the local community along with the coins for ice creams?
Well, I know the coins are a hit and they've been a hit, but again, I've been gone a month. I didn't know you'd be asking for analytics on the foot patrol stuff. I did make notes about his comment.
Okay.
That's been going on throughout the summer. I don't have data on that, but it concerns me. He says there's nobody out there on foot patrol. Well, that's that's what was promised, and you're right, I want to see what that is. So if I could, yeah, ask that the next council meeting, because I just got my feet on the ground yesterday. I've been gone for 30 days. And he's mentioned this. There's a few other things that were mentioned that, I spoke with Mr. Rolfe about Rolfe. I hope I yeah, correct. And I did tell him we will move the sign. That was obviously a concern of his. The July, the clerk's been great about keeping me on my toes on this, even though I've been gone and patchy on my emails because, it's just difficult to do both, control everything. But I did send out several emails about this, his data requests. Now, what he didn't mention, I believe it was mentioned in an email, and I'll go back and look to make sure he was CC'd on it. But if he wasn't, I apologize. But the data in the data box is corrupt, and that was the problem. We couldn't pull the data from so he was working with the manufacturer. When I left, he was working with the manufacturer to find out why we couldn't pull this data. We do have data from 22, I believe it was. We pulled data from the straightaway. So I know I would mention to Mr. Rolfe, the data we pulled previously didn't show any of that, those variations. Mrs. Rolfe just mentioned that there was a cop living back there before, and well, I don't remember any cop living back there, but whatever the case may be, she's seen there's been a change. I'm curious if that's the case. So yeah, I'm just as interested in running this data as they are. I find that to be, intriguing. I'm the one who's been pushing for these data points. I've been running these things for a while in problematic neighborhoods in order to find out where we need to put our patrols. So, yeah, last time we didn't see a problem on the straightaway. We will move this thing like I promised you. We will move it to the straightaway and pull some good data, hopefully. And hopefully they got the manufacturing problems sorted out. It was just unfortunate, when he asked for it, it wasn't available, and I'll do apologize if we weren't. I admit we were not as prompt as we could have been, and that had a lot to do with me being out of the office. So it's my fault, nobody else's fault. And we'll rectify that.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions?
Chief, got a question. For your projects, would it be possible, I know it can be, just to get one invoice for everything that you want to do and don't come at us with 2 or 3 invoices? Sometimes it's hard to do that.
Like this particular project on the sewage damage, is that what yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna the insurance paid out on the boiler. I'm gonna do my best to do what I can.
Okay.
I just wrapped my arms around this, the scope of work. And so if we can, there will be at least 2, well, one for the insurance and then one for the city's portion.
Okay,
That I can guarantee you. If there's any more than that, it's going to be something that I couldn't control. But yes.
okay. That's all we ask.
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Trish, would you like to come up?
I think it was last week or the week before, Emily had sent out financials. I'm ready to send out financials again today, and I actually meant to do it on Friday. Emily left early and I came in late today, so I didn't want to send them out at 5 o'clock tonight, but we're ready to send you financials for July. And also we can report the interest income from the AML AMLIP key bank account. We got that in last Thursday. So I'll have Emily, I'll send my email through Emily and she'll send it out to you. If you have any questions when you look at it, I'll be here most of the week. I think I was scheduled to have this week off, but I'm only going to take off Thursday and Friday. So I'll send that out probably tomorrow. And I don't have anything else. I will add to the insurance claim. I've been kind of handling the go between the insurance company and the invoices that we have so far. The boiler has been changed. The boiler was not part of the insurance claim. We paid for the boiler out of the capital projects fund. There was money budgeted there last year, certainly not for this, but that's where the money came from. I'm working on doing mid-year, it's not mid-year anymore, but mid-year financial or budget adjustments. Chad's already given me some of his, the last couple of weeks, dealing with the things that we've been dealing with and added responsibilities. just kind of took me off of it a little bit. But Steve's back. He has some ideas of what he needs to do in his department. And I'm sure I'll have that for you next time. It will be a fiscal note, so it'll go through 2 readings. So,
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none?
okay.
Thank you, Trish. Chief. We had 2 chiefs out and both of them are back.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I was actually surprised. I figured with my hasty exit from last meeting, I'd have been called first tonight, but
Well, you know, I started to, but he was longer, so.
so I only have a couple things for
You're
tonight.
being punished. That's why you're speaking last.
And I wanted to hear all the good news about bringing up that new ambulance.
Yep, that's the
So-
first thing on my list is
That's
the
why-
new ambulance is in town. It made it in town on Friday.
Okay.
No issues there. I was able to pick it up Tuesday afternoon and headed north about Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Headed north from there and we pulled into town here Friday afternoon. It was a pretty
Wow.
uneventful ride, very quick.
Okay.
Yeah, the ambulance is here and now it'll take us several weeks to get us into service. It has no D, it's just a plain white van at this time. So it's actually scheduled to go into auto trim design this week where they do the decal installation on it. And then they also do our radio installation. So they'll
Okay.
probably have it for at least a week, I'm predicting. And then when we get it back, I plan on bringing it by maybe to the next council meeting if it's done, decal wise. And you're going to see that this is a vast difference from our current ambulances. So
Okay.
there's going to be some time putting it into service because our staff have to really configure it and figure out how to hold the equipment we're going to hold in a different environment. I mean, it is very much a different environment. What I'll probably do is actually bring one of the older ambulances along with it so you can see the difference between the 2 models. It is significant, but so far, we're extremely happy with what we've had show up. I mean, it for the price difference compared to what we would have spent with the traditional F-350 chassis that we've been going with. It is absolutely very comparable, but there are minor differences that we're going to have to compensate for. So it's going to take us several weeks to kind of work through that and get to the point where everybody's been trained on it. They're familiar with the inventory, where it's at, placement, those type of things. So our medics are as proficient the day that it goes into service as the day before it went into service. So yeah, it's a long time coming. 2.5 years ago, we had ordered that first ambulance. So we were due this ambulance 1.5 years ago. It is going to be a relief to our aging fleet and let those older ambulances get a few less miles every year on them. So we're really happy to have it. The next thing I have is just an update on our apprentice program. They're doing great. So Saturday, actually, they finished up the hazmat portion of the testing, which concludes the firefighter. The hazmat and firefighter 1 are tied together, and that is the final portion of the firefighter 1. They've all passed the practical exams. We're waiting for written test notifications that take a couple weeks to get from the state. But we're pretty confident this group of young apprentices have been doing tremendous throughout this course. And so we'll have some certified firefighters here very shortly. As I had spoke to in a few council meetings ago, we had that stumbling block with getting them into the next EMT 1 class. We have ironed that out completely. Next Monday, they jump into EMT 1 class and they will be going through a 4-week academy for EMT 1 that is being instructed by Captain Sanders right here in-house. In the end, it took a little bit of finagling and jockeying to make that happen. But we're really happy with the progress we're made. And we actually think doing the EMT class in-house with our own instructors, with our equipment and using, our medics, it'll probably be top quality and we'll be extremely happy with our medics once they're trained. So they're doing great as well. We're really excited that it is going this well. And then at the end of that 4-week period with them finishing EMT, then they'll be divided and put onto shifts. And that's where they will get into the more on the job training and they'll actually be working shifts and doing the job that they've been training to do and being productive part of our fire department. So we are extremely happy with the progress, and we look forward to them finishing that. So that's all I had for you tonight. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Seeing none, but two things. Congratulations and glad that engine and everything is here. Okay.
You didn't call me.
Emily, you're next.
Oh, thank you. I didn't spend much time putting a report together tonight, but I did want to mention that tomorrow is the primary election. We've all kind of leaned in to make room for it. The polls will be open here from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For people that want to stop in and vote. The polls are here. Jeff, I have you signed up for this Thursday assembly meeting. So thank you for that. And otherwise, I don't have anything else to report tonight.
Okay. All right. And so moving forward, let's go on to ongoing projects. And we have a guest tonight, Howard Rexy, on our ongoing projects.
Okay. Oh, actually, I brought copies.
Well, thank you, Howard.
Well, good evening there.
Good evening.
So I have a number of things, and I guess, Mayor, I'll start out the one thing you alluded to earlier. I didn't know I was going to talk about it, but that's fine.
Okay.
The chamber, the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce, they partnered with the school liaison officers from Eielson and Wainwright, as well as the school district, and embraced the opportunity to do a welcome back positive picketing campaign for the schools in North Pole. And we did not intentionally try to isolate the Eielson folks, but there was definitely a motivation. I thought it was a pretty successful thing. I was out at the middle school last Thursday and the high school last Friday, and I was joined by the school liaisons, the USO. If you're familiar with the MFLAC counselors, they were out there, and some parents. I know at one of the schools there, the King and Queen were out there, and I believe the police department and fire department were at the elementary school there. So anyway, so we made a positive welcome back to those kids there, and hopefully they got their school starting back there in a positive note. So anyways, so that was the case there. One of the things I wanted to share with you was our junk car initiative. We've talked about this since May. I wanted to kind of give you an update on it and what have you. And just for the benefit of the entire audience. So in May, when we were doing the highway cleanup and everything else there, we wanted to kick off the campaign of make our community shine. And one of them was to inspire and give incentive or whatever for some people that had some junk cars in their yards to get them removed and pretty up the neighborhood and whatnot there. And we have partnered with Axle Towing and Tug and Grin Towing, brokered a deal with them. We also got $3,000 from the borough towards this project here. And the whole premise is that a resident that was in our defined community could call that one of those tow truck companies and say, I've got a junk car, come here and get it. When the tow truck folks would show up, they would make an initial assessment. Hey, has this got salvage value? If it does, they would just tow it away, no questions asked, and no fee charged. If there was no salvage value, then they would tow it to K&K for recycling, but the resident would pay $100, and then the chamber out of that $3,000 would subsidize the rest. And what have you. And we were somewhat successful in May and early part of June. We continued it on. Actually, it's continuing even to this date. So I'm happy to report to date, we have towed 22 vehicles out of the North Pole community. And we've extended it there because some of the people that asked was, well, what if I got more than one junk car in my thing here? Can I benefit? And so in July, we decided to change our parameters because it was one junk car per household. We have changed it to 3 junk cars per household or resident, if you would there. And we've even changed the financial part of it. If I have 3 cars that need to be towed away, and there's no salvage value, then the resident is going to pay $100 and we're going to pay all the rest. So that's about $450 for those 3 cars to get towed away. And we're going to continue to do that until the funds have been totally exhausted. And that is our goal, is to demonstrate that this is a positive initiative here and to replicate it next year. So to continue to clean up our neighborhood. So having said that, so I gave you a copy of our junk car towing thing here, and I ask you to share that with as many people as possible. I know the police department have been driving around with a few folks there to maybe give some incentives to particular neighbors or residents there to take advantage of it if they didn't know about it. But we still have just under $2,000 to spend on this here. So there's plenty of time to get it towed. So any questions on the junk car thing?
Seeing none?
Okay.
Okay.
So the other is well, I'll go with this here. So the last 2 years, the chamber has sponsored the Christmas and Lights celebration, encouraging businesses and residents to light up, decorate their homes and whatever, and really demonstrate that Christmas spirit, especially at Christmas time. And we gave a $1,000 prize for the best business and $500 for the best resident. That was received very well the last 2 years, and we have decided at our last board meeting to continue to do the same. So you are going to see our marketing campaign to, while it is still warm out there, take advantage of it and hang your Christmas lights and whatever and get it ready so they'll shine, if you would, in November. But the thing is so the deadline for making their submission on our webpage that says, hey, we'd like to be considered, is go to our webpage, and they have to be registered on our webpage by December 1st. And then then we encourage all the residents, if you would, to give the various star ratings there as to what they think is the best and whatnot. And then at our annual awards thing in December, luncheon there, we'll give those prizes out. So again, the intent is to be able to go through our North Pole community there and truly recognize Christmas is alive. All right. Any questions there? Hearing none there. So let me talk about the You're Not Alone wall. So if you are not familiar with this, this is a 16-foot mountain shaped wall over there in the Terry Miller Memorial Park. On the wall itself is currently 17 plates that recognize a number of service agencies that offer just that, services to people that are in need. On each plate, it identifies a organization. I'm just going to use my personal one here with the Alliance Eyeglass Recycling thing. So we have the Royal Borealis Alliance Eyeglass Recycling Center. We have what our service is, in this case here, is help with vision care. And then there's a QR code that whoever is looking at the slate there can key in on it and connect directly to that service agency. So I'm happy to report. So we unveiled this September 1st last year, and out of the 17 tiles, 15 agencies have actually been contacted by people in the park seeking those particular services. So they're doing what is in. So with that said there, we also have the mountain, if you would, or wall is bookend by 2 what I call pantries. One is, no kidding, a food pantry, and one is a loaner library. And June and July, I guess, both of those, became beyond repair. I'll just leave it at that there. Whether they were destroyed or the wind blew over, it's not neither here or there on it there, but the chamber has actually contracted with Great Northern Shed, and they have built us some very sturdy and stout replacements, and they are up there. They just put them up there like 10 days ago. And the food pantry every Friday is stocked by one of 5 different organizations in the community to do that. And I will tell you, that's widely used too, because we stack on Friday and by Sunday it's empty. Yes.
Okay.
So that's a really good thing there. So that's the You're Not Alone wall, and we're happy that it's done. We did have one of the slate plates broken. I'm suspecting it was like a soccer ball or whatever, hit it and cracked it and whatever. So we will replace that. And we are in the process. We said every year we were going to open up the door for adding more slate tiles to that. We did do that. We did the campaign in July and the front part of August. It was actually, the deadline was this last Saturday. We did not have any people that actually followed through to add to the tiles, even though we had some verbals that said they were. So I'm going to follow up on that. But our intent is on September 6th, which is a Friday, at noontime, is to, if you would, recommission the wall
and do that. So we think that was a very positive thing for the community. So that was that. Then, so the next one I would like to do is the second copy thing I gave y'all was a letter from us as the chamber, and it was directly an update in terms of the Welcome Center. So if you don't mind, I'd just like to read the letter. So, anyways, so it's addressed to y'all as the city council and the mayor, and it goes as such. The North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce is excited to have the city of North Pole as a partner and advocate in our quest to construct our community's Welcome Center. As of late, we are pursuing the construction of a temporary building dubbed the Interim Welcome Center while we continue the fundraising effort for the full Welcome Center. We're coming to you with a request for further support that is well within your scope to grant. As a reminder, the North Pole community, as we define it, is the fastest growing segment in the borough and likely Alaska, representing nearly 26,700 residents, 10,500 dwellings, and 1,478 licensed businesses. This growth has significantly changed the social and economic dynamics across our entire community, and it demands all of us to quickly respond with services that will build a rock solid foundation to our community's long-term viability and sustainable quality of life. Our latest construction cost for the full Welcome Center is approximately $1.3 million. We're happy to report the community has been very supportive at the grassroots level in helping us raise nearly $500,000 in cash and in-kind donations. But that's far short of the $1.3 million and will likely require another 2 to 3 years of fundraising. With that said, the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce is adamant that our community cannot wait another 3 years to offer the services the Welcome Center is intended to offer. After holding multiple board meetings and a special meeting of the Welcome Center stakeholders, the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce is pursuing the construction of an interim Welcome Center that will bring greater visibility to the full Welcome Center project and offer a taste of the services that the full Welcome Center will eventually offer. The interim Welcome Center will be a frontier spirited 14 by 40 temporary building, approximately 580 square feet, placed on a compacted gravel pad on the Welcome Center site. Our goal is to have the site prep done by October 1st, 2024, with the building actually being set in place and connected to the stub utilities by November 30th, and the North Pole Community Chamber moving in and opening the doors on the day of the Winterfest, December 14th. The North Pole Community Chamber's Commerce goal is to minimize how much the Welcome Center Construction Fund has to be dipped into to bring about the interim Welcome Center. Based on our bids, our interim Welcome Center will cost approximately $95,000, with the site and utility prep costs approximately $40,000. One related cost will be the associated city permit fees. And while the various city construction permit fees are seemingly small in contrast to other costs, they do add to the overall price tag. We now come to you requesting the city waive the fees of any city permit required in the construction of the interim Welcome Center, which requires city council action. So to meet our timeline, we hope we hope to execute our contracts this week. We pray you will immediately take up this action and grant a request for waiving the permit fees. And then for more information, contact us. Any questions?
Any questions?
What are your total building fees for that temporary structure that you're asking the city in this letter to waive?
The fees themselves there. So I actually was working with Melanie, keeping in mind, she factored in the cost of the building, which we used as 95,000 was the basis there, which is not being constructed on site. So that makes it unusual in that case itself. And then, like I said, it's somewhere around $40,000 for the site prep, which is leveling the site, building the 30 by 50 gravel pad, compacting it, and then stubbing out sewer, water. We're running electric from the pole to a mast on the building, so there's nothing there. And then IGU is going to do the natural gas. So really, from a construction cost, it's the $40,000 for the site prep. So she estimated, though, figuring and it was just an estimate, so don't hold me to this number or her to that number. Factoring in the cost of the building was about $3,000. I've been told because the building is not being constructed on site there and it's just being delivered there, kind of like a ATCO or whatever, that the building cost should not be factored in. So, but I'm not the expert on that.
And the building plans that you have for this temporary structure, have they been approved by an engineer that has done work for the city?
No, so we have GSA certified contractors. They're willing to build this there with the specs that we asked there. And I've been working with Design Alaska. And they agree with everything that's there. But it's not going to have full-fledged plans and everything else because of the size of the building and everything else. It is a single room with an ADA compliant bathroom and a closet. That's 40 foot long, so.
Mayor?
Yes, Jeff.
I think the reason why perhaps the building would be subject to building permits is that in order to get a certificate of occupancy to make sure it's safe, we have to contract with our building inspector to issue that, and that's where the fee would come in. Not
maybe.
because it's built off-site, it's just that if you're going to occupy it within the city of North Pole, that we have to make sure that it passes that inspection. We have to pay for that outsource.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I'm no expert on this here, so I'm at your guys' mercy on that there. Like I said, Melanie did up the worksheet and I have that here with me and I'll be glad to provide that to you there. But it was, I mean, definitely, I hit her up this morning after a meeting from last week there and she did just a Johnny on the spot, quick estimate, just to give you a roundabout.
Well, I certainly appreciate all that the Community Chamber of Commerce does with making our city shine and removing 22 vehicles in our community. The You Are Not Alone wall in the Terry Miller Memorial Park that is helping obviously take care of the people who are short on food and getting services. The Cruising with Santa event every May that brings thousands of people to our community. The candlelighting ceremony, the Winterfest and fireworks. The Chamber of Commerce does a lot in addition to all your other programs that you have done over the year. I move that the city waive up to $3,000 in building permit fees for this project.
So this isn't an action item on the agenda. I haven't noticed anybody about he was just doing an ongoing project report.
Okay, we've done action items before, but that's okay. I'll wait.
Anyways, that's all I have to speak to unless you got other questions.
Any other questions? Yes, Benny.
Yes, Ben.
If we waive this fee
Yes, sir.
for you guys, what about another 501c that might come in and want it waived? Or another one that might come in and want it waived? Or another one?
They'll have to have a laundry list like they do of all the things they contribute back to the city.
So one of the things I did not talk about here was the Economic Development Committee. So, and I'm not going to, I'm sorry, I'm a little disappointed on that front there, but I'm very thankful that the chamber is doing everything it is to bring prosperity and quality of life to this community. So I'll just leave it there.
And we're still trying. Our group dropped.
Yes.
And season came, which was totally unexpected.
Yep.
So with that being said, we're still moving forward.
Yep.
And hoping to collect more interested people to join the group to help our community get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my sell pitch. And Howard, I thank you so very much for coming in and sharing.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate your patience.
No problem.
Thank you, Howard.
Yep.
Okay, let's move to unfinished business. Ordinance 2024-6, the ordinance of the city of North Pole amending and purchasing code. I think that's Trish, right?
This is, yeah, thank you, Tricia.
This is the second reading of this amendment to change the procurement policy. Basically what it does is it takes the two things. It takes the ability for the department heads to sign. Some folks were at 6,000 and some folks were at 12,000. So it kind of merges the gap. So everybody's at 10, not the mayor. The mayor's still at 24. And then the big thing that it's going to do is going to take the ability to go out to competitive bid from 50 to 100,000. So, for instance, not a lot can be done for 50,000 anymore. So this competitive bid process is quite lengthy. This kind of was kicked around during the end of the audit when we were talking with the auditors that said, basically her suggestion was that there were some things in here that she didn't like. So we took those things out right away. One of them was when it's feasible to get 3 quotes. So we took that out. So then we raised this to 100 to go out to competitive bid. She said the federal government was at 150. As long as we're lower than the federal government, then we should be okay. And just given the issues we've had in the last year to going out to competitive bid, and some of our department heads thought, oh, this is pretty low considering the work that things that have to be done currently and in the future. So basically, that's all this does.
Any questions? Yes, Anton.
So in line 40, it has $50,000. Should that be changed to 100,000 with the change in the,
That's not what I have here.
is that supposed to be separate still? The limited purchase of property?
Oh,
It's on 52. I don't know why.
Yeah, 50 and then 40.
This went through legal review. I'm guessing it's an oversight, and I'm happy to speak with Zane about that.
I think it's 2 different things.
Is it 2 different things?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're correct.
This
Line 39 and 40 is just saying that you have to get 3 written quotes. You're not forced to go out to competitive bid. Competitive bid is in the next section, and that's where we raise it to 100,000.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, the when practical, that's what Tricia was speaking of.
that's the wording that the auditor didn't quite like. Because
Smart.
we could just say it wasn't practical.
Yep.
You know.
I think we've heard that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none? Any
Move to
moving?
approve.
Second.
Okay, on the motion to approve ordinance 2024-06, an ordinance of the city of North Pole amending the purchasing code, Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
and Mayor Clack.
Yes.
Thank you. That brings us to new business, request to council, smart water grant, 50% match. 64,000, let's see, 164,471 grant, 164,471 smart water fund.
And that's Trish again. Boy, we're really liking to see you this evening. We just should have told you to stay.
So this is a grant that I think Two Bears went out for us and we received it. There's been some communication between the grantees and then us. And so basically it's a 50% match. It's 164,000 and we're responsible for another 164,000. And it's basically the redesign portion of the all water system that we want to eventually replace. Respect received a bid on this. They have already started some work. In this bid scenario, because it's a new funding source. The folks from the bid said, well, we could certainly start the process before the bid was awarded. So on that paperwork, it says the bid was awarded 11/7, and we had some issues with the key contacts of the city was not correct. And so we just got that corrected prior to this meeting.
And just for clarification, this is for phase 1 of this project. The grant is only for phase 1.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's basically set up for the design. And to get it ready for bidding it out.
So in our packet, we have different attachments. So are we talking about phase 1 being the existing downtown loop? Is it W14, W16, W17? Or is it all of those?
There's phase one is the downtown loop, and then there's another phase that has to do with construction docks. So 95% of the construction document would be able to be ready to when we have the funding to replace that part of the town water system.
Right.
All right.
Any other questions? Seeing none? Larry?
And we move to approve the Smart Water Grant, 50% match for $164,471.
Who's going to second?
Second.
Jeff second.
Okay, on that request to council, Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Church,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Jacobson, Mayor Clack. Thank you. And that moves us to council member comments. We have everybody here tonight. Let's switch it up. Mr. Church, let's start with you.
I'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight to speak for public comment. On behalf of Anna Allred and also the North Star subdivision, Barbara Haney, for coming out and speaking about Thursday's borough meeting as a citizen of North Pole. And then I'd also like to give kudos to Officer Illingsworth for, I hope this is correct, the APOA Support Person of the Year for the state. Is that correct? Or for our area? State? That's pretty huge. And I just wanted to bring that up, not to it's cool that somebody in our local community who has been around school kids and helping our local community gets some recognition for all the hard work that he's put in. So with that, I just want to say thank you and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Let's go to Mr. Skips.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skips. Mr. Keller?
It's good to be back in Alaska. I had a couple of weeks outside Alaska, and it helps me realize this is a great state. I think I lost 10 pounds just in sweating and in the humidity. We are turning the tides to different weather, different seasons, and Mayor Clack mentioned earlier boat safety. All safety on the roads is important, and on the waterways. I do appreciate the involvement of the community coming in today and voicing their concerns. Voicing a personal concern. I personally know that the police department does a good job at doing a hard job of trying to educate. And I've seen that multiple times. And I'm sorry that this is something that you're going through. Put myself in that situation many years ago. I remember receiving a ticket. And on the ticket, the officer had put that I was under the influence as a 16-year-old. And I had to call back and call the officer. I was like, hey, is there a way we can take this off? And he said, actually, I can't alter the documentation. You're going to have to go in front of the judge and explain your case. So I followed a thought and some advice that I got, and I got some letters of almost recommendation. Those that knew who I was. And they knew that I did not partake of those kind of substances at all. And so I went in before the judge and had that taken off. So the amount of stress that can come from going before a judge, the amount of stress and anxiety that can happen coming before any kind of body, that takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts. So I commend you for doing that. I'm hoping that we can find a remedy for the solution or a remedy for what's going on, and that you can get back on your feet and keep doing the things that you know you need to be doing, providing for yourself and helping others and serving. So, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mr. Jacobson?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for everyone who came in and shared your concerns. This is an opportunity for us to hear what's going on in our community and try to do a better job at that after that. It's good to have Chief Dutra back after a very difficult year in summer. So you bring such a lot of value to our department and city and community. So thank you for your 25 years of service. It's been incredible watching all the things that you've accomplished in your career here at North Pole. Once again, I just want to go on record just being really disgusted with the Interior delegation, the 5 members who chose not to override the governor's education bill veto this summer. That has impacted over 380 students on Eielson in the Salcha community, where those people who live in Salcha have to bus their students every day to North Pole High School and then bus them back. What kind of family life time for those kids to have after school sports, for those parents to interact with their teachers, bring things to school when things get left at home. That is just outrageous. We only needed one of them to vote to override it, and all 5 of them failed us. And I think it's very easy to figure out whose names those are. And I think if any of them up for election, that you should consider seriously who you should vote to represent us, because they failed to represent many of our folks that live in our community and extended community. So I'm just really disappointed about that. I do agree that the Borough Assembly should approach working with the cities on a more collaborative level rather than on a dictate format. We saw that earlier with the Assembly trying to force the city to change the month of our municipal elections. And now we're seeing that again with mailing switching completely to mailing in ballots without a process where we can participate in that discussion rather than just passing a resolution dictating that. So it's good to hear that they'll be perhaps restoring our speaking rights back at the Borough Assembly, where we will no longer be told that we can show up and sit there and be quiet. And that's my closing comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Williams?
I'd like to thank everybody that came today. There was some very interesting items that was in the citizen comments, and I will look into things in my own way. I don't mind stirring the pot because I will ask questions. These guys know I do that. Okay. Because things do change. And as I see it, we as us up here, things are getting better for us. But we all have to work at it. In our school systems, education is important. If you don't have it up here, we tend to repeat the same old stuff over and over again. We have to move, as they say, forward and not move backwards. Most of the time you see me up here and I'm quiet. I don't say much. But you never know what's going on behind closed doors. And sometimes when I speak, sometimes I overthink things. And my thing is for us to work as a team, not I, not me, us as a team, and we take care of us. Because one of these days, Fairbanks is gonna look, what those people in North Pole doing? Maybe they should get off their, how can I say this and be politically correct? Get off their engines and work with everybody. Because there was one time I went down and I got chastised. It ain't gonna happen again. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and you guys should come more often. Not just when something comes up and you want to talk about something. Come more often. Your views and what you say is important to us up here. Because if we don't know what's going on, guess what? We'll never know. And things will remain the same. There's only one thing you got to remember. There's always change. There's always change. And we have to move once again forward and not backwards. Up, I dropped the mic to the mayor.
My sentiments are the same as everybody that's on this council. I want to thank everybody for coming in. We'll try to see what we can do to work with each and every one of you that's come in here to see what we can do to solve problems. With that being said, I want everybody to drive home safely. Please, when you're on the water, dress appropriately for the season. Put on your life jacket. And please watch out for kids now that we're in school. Everybody have a nice evening.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. That adjourns the meeting at 9:52.
Yeah. I didn't want to take it from him. He's only got 2 more left.
Hey, I already gave him the little kick pop that you have to do it with that one. Listen to me. He's incorrigible.